Privyet, I am the Watcher, and today I got a great book for you. Crimson Dynamo number 5 by Epic Comics. Now, this was an impulse buy for me. I didn't realize how many there were in the series. There are 6, and this is issue number 5. So, I already have 1 and 2 ordered. I plan to do them all. If you don't want spoilers, maybe skip ahead. Next week we'll be doing Cartoons featuring Courage the Cowardly Dog. You know, this is a comic I got as a kid because it had Courage on it, and it's a little weird. I always thought they'd adapt it into an episode, but they didn't. There's a bunch of other fun cartoons in here too. But that's for later. Today, we're going to do this. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, without further ado, Crimson Dynamo number 5. Just starting off, I love the cover art. You got the heavy shadowing on Iron Man. You got freaking the Crimson Dynamo, the shockwaves. It's a very dynamic scene. They're just jumping at you. This one was done by John Jackson Miller, Joe Caroni, and Thomas Manson. And it was put out by Epic, which I'm not sure about that publisher. Never really heard of them. If you get on the back, I'm not sure if this is going to work online, but you have one of these optical illusions. You're supposed to like move it around. I'll try to... Is it working? No, I thought it was kind of silly. So you go over an introduction. You have the main guys talk about him swiping the helmet. That's where you are right now. Is this kid pretty much stole a helmet that's controlling the Crimson Dynamo armor, and it's headed towards Moscow right now, and it's pretty much like a bomb about to go off. And this one's dealing with like the hype up to 6 and the fallout of that. I'm hoping for a cool fight between Tony and the armor. You start out with this guy. His mom's looking for him. That's a big theme in this one, and I feel like there's a little in some previous ones I missed. Then, meantime, in Moscow, you have our I guess this is our main antagonist here. He's getting choked out. And this guy's pretty much like, take it easy, Yuri. Let him live a bit longer. Our employer will want to see him. And this guy, he's just, Hawaiian shirt. He's a brick house. Like, he's not even struggling to just hold him. This scene, how he's that way and his hand twisted, though, that does look kind of uncomfortable. I'm just now noticing that. Alright, so these guys busted in on him. They're trying to find the helmet. They can't. So they're stealing his data, which is on these little cassette tapes, which is just adorable. And you get to one of the first funny ads. Yo, dude, Xmas made easy. These DVDs are 8 gifts. I don't think anyone does that anymore. For anyone who might not know, we used to get charged for the amount of letters in a text. And that's how a lot of that started, like LOL and all that, was us trying to get our money's worth. So after they find the data they need, this guy, he just instantly drops him. And he's like thud, like a sack of potatoes. So they apparently think he followed him. And he's thanking him for not murdering him. He's asking him what's on the tape. He's got a Walkman. This part's funny. Ridiculous, why can't you do that from home? My connection's too slow. This terminal's tied in to the universal server and nobody monitors it. So he's lying, saying this guy in this warehouse lets him use the computer. Look, you don't believe me? Take a listen. What kind of music is it? You could call it techno. Then you have this ad for this Bionicle game, which, this isn't a Lego channel, but Bionicle's what made Lego go, hey, we're making too many parts. And then they realized, hey, we haven't been cataloging any of our parts. And then they went and they made a catalog of it, and now certain pieces, like, they use them to keep them relevant so they don't get taken out of circulation, because if a piece doesn't get used for like 5 years, they throw the molds out. Okay, so it starts playing, and it shrieks, and he's like, ah! I guess this guy doesn't like techno, because it's a sound weapon, and then he's beating this guy up with his bag, and he's grabbing the helmet. He's like, that data was on that tape. Kill that son of a... And then he puts on the Crimson Dynamo helmet. He's trying to do some back hacking into the encryption before these guys shoot him. He's lucky. They're taking a long time. Then you have an ad for these sweet Spider-Man wallets. I seem to remember a kid having one of these when I was a kid with a chain and... I don't know. Nice wallet. So he just starts blasting them with this huge sound wave. And I love how this is drawn, like, with the words, like, transparent and red. And it looks noisy, you know, it looks muddled in the colors. It makes you focus in on him and realize it's just chaos all around him. They did a really good job layering all that. And you have another ad for Pac-Man. Again, remember me saying I like old ads. I meant like for the submarine made out of cardboard and shit. This is funny though. He'd blush, but he's yellow. And this is for Pac-Man World 2, which I don't remember that at all. I remember World 1 and never being able to find it in the store, so I don't think it did that well. I'm honestly surprised to see that ad in here. So it broke all the glass. It broke that guy's glasses. And then he's on a moped and he just burst out of there. And he pulled the visor up. He's just like, vroom, vroom, bang, bang, bang. Vroom. Morons, you had the helmet in your grasp. And the armor is almost to Moscow. We have nothing. Not nothing. Something on this may help. Alright, so now you go to this Putin looking guy. I mean, kind of looks like Putin. And he's talking about how these guys have pretty much been giving him grief. But now that the Crimson Dynamo armor is on its way to Moscow, they're like, oh, we'll help. But it's transparent. They're obviously just saying that so they can swoop in and neutralize the armor and then take it for themselves to develop their own technologies. So then you have this guy who's paranoid of the police following him. So he just sits here eating some chips, going over these papers. And then you have this cool flashback of the original Crimson Dynamo, and he's talking about his early days developing the armor. It has dates and everything. I really like some of this art. Just this one, it looks like a lot of the old like propaganda posters, like building ourselves through building others, you know. The Hobbit video game. Another game I always wanted to play as a kid, but you know what? When I was a kid, if you saw a game you wanted to play, you went to the store, they didn't have it, you're not playing it. You're never going to play it. So many games I didn't play till I was an adult that way. When I grew up and there was the internet and you could order it. So you have more flashbacks, and here's the original Crimson Dynamo armor. This part's funny. He's like, this guy, he's look at him. He just wants to take all my shit. And I mean, like, if I handed my notes to someone and they made that face, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not trusting him either. So this guy's plan is to make the Mark II armor, my boy right there, my favorite. And he's pretty much going to use it against the people holding him captive, which is his own government. But it very much mirrors Tony's story, whether you do the Vietnamese one or the later Afghan one. I really like this picture right here. A really high detail. Oh, so he's talking about how he pretty much made the suit so it can charge from Sputnik, which that's not really what Sputnik looked like, but they're calling it Sputnik. They reference a lot of real-world events in here. Like, pretty much there's a delay with it because of this Korean flight that the Russian government shot down, which unfortunately did happen. They even got Gorbachev in here. They're talking about how they want to deploy the Mark I to go to the Stark Labs to destroy a munition factory and give Russia more time in the war. And that's actually, from what I understand, the first appearance of the Crimson Dynamo in the Iron Man comics. And can't wait to get there to find that and read that. In our ad for this Looney Tunes game. So you have this guy lamenting more about how he doesn't want to work for these people. He's going to smash up the munitions lab, and talking about how he wants to return to finish the Mark II. So this is why the Mark II is a bomb. He didn't get to finish it, and one of the relays for the satellite is messed up. So from what I understand, it pretty much just keeps shooting it with power until it explodes. It doesn't know how to like regulate it and keep itself from blowing up. It's kind of like if you try to charge your phone with a direct current that never ended and your phone didn't know how to stop and it just blew the battery up. And then there's this really beautiful panel right here. I'll zoom in. And he says, "This nation, which has given me such scientific opportunities, may exact a simple price, my soul." beautiful. And you got the Sims, you know. You want to reach into my pocket, touch my Sim. Oh, Sims Advanced. I don't remember that. That must have been some bullshit. You know, Game Boy Advance Sims. Like, how's it? No, it's going to be horrible. Or they look like scribble knots. This is becoming a video game review channel. I'm going to get the Sims Advance and play it on the channel. If this reaches 10,000 likes. Then, if it reaches 1 million, I'll start giving away Teslas. Oh, here we go. Now it's talking about how you can use the helmet to guide the armor using Sputnik. Well, it's called Sputnik Guidance. I don't know if it's actually Sputnik or if that's just a reference to it, but I mean, it looks like Sputnik is part of it. Things about the size of a volleyball, from what I understand. Oh, and this is how he's learning to deactivate it. He's like, if I have line of sight, I can still relay even if I don't have the satellite. So he wants to deactivate it. This would only pose as a hazard condition if the armor were to be immersed in water for long periods of time. It's been walking through an icy canal. Were that to happen, the armor could erupt in an electromagnetic pulse affecting a 30-kilometer radius. This is him realizing the issue. And then a voice starts coming through there. And he's like, who is this? He's like, who's Napoleon? My name is Tony Stark. He thought it was, he's crying out for help from the guy that made it, and Tony answered. He talks about how he read a paper from 19-year-old Tony that influenced his ability to make the Sputnik relay. So Tony is now saying how this guy has always had similar wavelength as him, so they've been able to communicate. Because his technology is based on one of his ideas that went to his technology. And he's explaining to him how he went, and he's smashing up the line. There's old 19-year-old Tony. Stark Industry was my father's company first, but I did convince Anton to defect. It wasn't hard. Anton figured the apparatchiki, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, might kill him when he got back anyway. I'm assuming that's some sort of group that's controlling him, which I don't blame him. They probably would have. Then some more Beyblade ads. So here's Tony talking about pretty much the influence they had on each other, and then him fighting a lot of the other Crimson Dynamos that was based on the original guy's data that got left in Russia. So this guy's been doing all this on a bench this whole time. These secret police are watching him. Tony is inferring how bad the bomb is, and look, he's doing some shit. He's saving some people right now. These two people, they're like, I think he's drunk. Not very good secret police. Not very good spy, not very good secret police. So then it fades out. These guys were listening to it because in the same frequency, they have all the data he has. Now they're going through the data and they're figuring out the same stuff he just figured out about the suit being a bomb. And his mom walks in. And she's confronting him. She doesn't believe him. She's like, all this is, why are you so suspicious? And you know what he does? Beautiful moment. He mans up and he tells his mother the truth. Did you get a girl in trouble? Did you do something illegal? What is happening? Trust me. I stole something, alright? I was bored and I took something I shouldn't have. And now people might get hurt because of it. But I'm going to fix everything right now, I swear. The question is, do you trust me? Like you were my own son. She hugs him, even though she doubts him. She knows her son wants to do the right thing, and it's very touching. You know, I read that, and I went and I hugged my son, and I told him I love him. So his plan, he thinks the armor's tracing him, and his plan is to get a ticket and go out of the city. The train station is packed because everyone knows the armor's coming, and they don't want to, you know, get their shit pushed in when it gets there. But the helmet's telling him how he's out of power, he doesn't have a link. So it's just going with its last location, Moscow. It's not even going to try to follow him. He's like, oh no, what am I going to do? And he's realizing he's going to have to go to the city to try to get the line of sight thing to get to work. And then you get this teaser for the final one, Cold War 2. And this beautiful, beautiful picture. I actually want to put this in the thumbnail, but I thought it was a bit of a spoiler. And then you have Spider-Man ISP, some sort of Alienware computer. Well, this might be the oldest mention of Alienware. And then the optical illusion again. Ooh. Well, I absolutely love this episode. I love this character. I hope you enjoyed it too. So let's get to the final thoughts. Okay, so as for my final thoughts, I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I want more. The only thing is, it is really a build-up. It's like, it's building up the last issue. I started way too late. So I'm going to get the other ones. I'm going to build up 2 here again. And then I'm going to finish the series. I hope to have them all done pretty soon because, as I've said quite a few times on this channel, Crimson Dynamo is my favorite, especially the Mark II armor. I did really enjoy how this went into the history, incorporating the older stories into it and the other armors. I thought it was funny, like my dumbass thought, oh, this is the premiere of Crimson Dynamo, because I googled first appearance of Crimson Dynamo and they're like, well, he has his own comic series, and I'm like, what? And when I googled that, it thought I meant its comic series. I should have put in Iron Man. And I should have realized this because when I reviewed my Marvel's Milestone edition of Iron Man, which had the second story, it had that little quip of all about Iron Man, and it had the older design for Crimson Dynamo. So I should have known it appeared in the older Iron Man comics. Now, as for power scaling, Tony Stark, I definitely feel, could beat Captain Planet, but he's not the center of this. It's Crimson Dynamo. I gotta say, in its current state, how it is in this issue, I think Captain Planet could kick its ass, because it's just this armor. And it poses quite the ecological threat if it does go off. It's pretty much a walking bomb. Dealing with fallout and toxic waste is the kind of thing that Captain Planet specializes in. Well, anyways, this has been a really great video for me. I really enjoyed this story, even though it was a little... I should have started at the beginning. That's my fault. I hope to see you back here next week when I do cartoons featuring Courage the Cowardly Dog. Well, till next time, stay safe and do svidanya.